Hi, and welcome to our presentation. The primary purpose of this paper is to introduce the concept of news informatics by explicating its meaning, suggesting some ideas for operationalizing it, and demonstrating an empirical user test of one particular operationalization. The arrival of big data has provided both opportunities and challenges for the practice of journalism. News organizations need to find ways to better utilize and present the enormous amount of data and engage users with the data-rich news content. We are witnessing a growing trend of data-driven journalism, or as others might call it, computational journalism or precision journalism. Interactive data visualizations are widely used news applications to assemble, organize, and present data as part of a news content. We propose this concept of news informatics in this paper, basically an infrastructure that allows users to interactively consume and use the newsworthy data information with a particular reference to their own selves. We argue that for users to be engaged with data-driven public information, sites ought to incorporate interactive tools so that users can extract personally relevant information. Our study is based on a theoretical model of interactivity effects published 15 years ago in the Oxford Handbook of Internet Psychology, which identified three species of interactivity. Interactivity as a feature of the medium, also called modality interactivity, interactivity as a source feature, and interactivity as a message feature, each with its own distinct psychological mechanism. We use this model to propose design of interactive media in a full paper that we presented in CHI 2010. We conceptualize interactivity as a medium feature in terms of different interaction techniques on the interface of the medium, such as clicking, tapping, swiping, zooming, and so on. Provision of such interaction techniques can enhance the bandwidth of user perceptions of the site and thereby engage users more deeply in it. Source interactivity refers to tools that allow users to serve as sources of content by customizing, curating, and creating content. It provides more agency to users and allows them to express themselves. Message interactivity refers to the reciprocal and contingent exchanges between the user and the system. While our prior studies have shown evidence for the effects of each type of interactivity, the current study explores their combination effects and wonders whether they are additive. We also test for individual differences, which I won't go over here, but you can find that in our paper. We conducted a between subjects experiment with 12 websites that we especially created for the study. The website pertained to global attitudes, and one of the 12 versions of the site was randomly assigned to each of the 166 participants. The site featured public opinion data from 19 countries pertaining to 4 international topics. It had varying levels of different aspects of interactivity on the interface, modality interactivity in terms of click in the low condition and with the addition of slide and mouse over in the high condition, source interactivity with just cosmetic customization of colors in the medium condition and blogging in the high condition, and message interactivity with the presence of saved graphs and recording interaction history of the user with that site. Study participants were asked to browse the site and conduct data comparisons between countries and create a blog post or take personal notes depending on the condition to which they were assigned. A wide range of outcomes were assessed pertaining to the interface and their perceptions of engagement, as also their information processing, attitudes toward the site, and behavioral intentions to revisit, share, and recommend the site. The effects of modality interactivity was overwhelmingly positive on several outcomes, but we will focus on interaction effects for this presentation. So as you can see, we discovered that the effect of high message interactivity on information recall is better than low message interactivity only when modality interactivity is high. In other words, for interaction history to be cognitively consequential, the interface needs to afford more ways to interact in addition to simply clicking. Likewise, we found that the positive effect of customization, which is medium source interactivity, on elaboration and attitudes is evident only when modality interactivity is high. We also tested a structural equation model with perceived interactivity as the exogenous variable and found that it predicted all three proximate mediators of the interactivity effects model, with perceptual bandwidth leading to positive attitudes, perceived contingency contributing to behavioral intentions through user engagement, and perceived customization predicting behavioral intentions directly. The experiment reveals complex effects of the interactive tools on individuals' competence to use the informatics interface, their perception of communication reciprocity, as well as the cognitive load that they experience when they process the data-rich content. Echoing our prior research, modality interactivity and cosmetic customization, both of which offer bells and whistles, seem to work very well in the context of a data-rich website used in our study. And as mentioned before, the effects of message interactivity are contingent upon the presence of high modality interactivity. The effects of source interactivity turned out to be tricky, quite dependent on individual differences, which we didn't discuss here. We discuss in our paper that enabling self-expression works well for highly involved users, but can be counterproductive with less involved users. In sum, this study underscores the need to consider interaction effects of different interactivity features rather than simply focus on the effects of individual interactivity features. It also calls for considering individual differences in power usage and numeracy skills. As such, it opens up new avenues for research and design. The crux of news informatics is the use of interactivity on media interfaces to enable dynamic presentation of personally relevant information with tools for users to make sense of that information. This approach has many useful applications, especially in the current era of misinformation, when the need for personally verifying facts has never been greater, not to mention the need for creating personally relevant narratives. We would like to thank you and thank the National Science Foundation for supporting this research. On behalf of my co-authors, I thank you for watching the presentation. To learn more about our study, please check out our paper in the Proceedings of CHI 2022.